I'm sorry. I mean,
That's all
I just
right.
ate shaving cream.
Well, everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
Be right back.
Hi, I'm Jackson Avery Steele, and I'm the horror veteran.
And I'm Madelyn, the horror novice, and welcome to Bloody Wankers.
Your quintessential home for all things horror. So, on this podcast, we'll be talking about Macbeth. We'll be referring to the production we saw at our local professional theater, the Guthrie Theater, but we'll also be talking about the whole play itself. Mm-hmm. So, if you most likely haven't seen this production, then you'll be good to go. So, Madelyn, what was your first thoughts? Spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free. In general, Macbeth and Shakespeare has a lot of room to be modernized, which I think is a really good, overall thing about his storytelling is how much of it still relates to people and our struggles today. The biggest thing I liked about the show that we saw was how they took that idea and they put it into their costumes. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the production we saw, it was a little retro futurism. It was giving a lot of like the newer Star Wars,
the sequel movies.
The sequels. It was imperial. It was very like black and then reds, like deep blacks and then deep reds.
And very interesting silhouettes.
Yeah, they had very minimal set pieces, but their big set piece was this giant 30-foot wall on either side, and it was just like really gray and very just futuristic.
They used a lot of light in order to tell the setting, which I thought was really interesting as well.
Yeah, and it's just like props to Shakespeare for continuing to like just have his stories be told all through time and very, very long, even after we are long gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's 500 years now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we also did a production of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
And that was featured too, but I think my thoughts of Macbeth, spoiler-free, is it's just a really good look at how ambition can change a person and how it affects everyone in, like, not just the person who is ambitious, but the other people who are surrounding them. And it also just shows, like, how much morality can eat at someone. And I think that is really cool.
Yeah.
It also is interesting because it's not overly horror, so it's kind of a stretch for us talking about it. But it's
bloody.
Yeah, it's bloody, and it did inspire every
witchcraft
and
stories revolving around magic in general, anything with prophecies, for sure, especially doomsayers.
Yeah, and bubble, toil and trouble.
Prophecies, especially. God, just really good writing.
I don't know how much more we can say
without spoilers.
Without spoiling it, but yeah, definitely it's Shakespeare's shortest tragedy, because the king he was commissioned to write it for had a really short attention span. It's about 90 pages of content, and
it's a pretty quick read.
Yeah, you can easily read it in 2 hours at the most.
Though that is to be said about Shakespeare, and this has always been my opinion anytime I am reading Shakespeare. Every time I get through a script, I'm like, okay, that's a story, and then I see it on stage, and it's like, because that's how it's meant to be told. So I would always opt to seeing Shakespeare in person live over anything else.
Yeah, I after originally reading Macbeth, I was like, yeah, this is fine. Like probably the third best thing he wrote. But then I saw it on stage, and I was like, whoa, this my idea of it totally just shifted. And yeah, Shakespeare is meant to be heard. It's meant to be performed, and I think it's also meant to be modernized.
Yes.
Like he already was so ahead of his time that you don't have to do much to modernize it. Like although the language itself is archaic, what he's talking about and all of the themes are so present.
It's so human, is what it is.
Yeah.
All of his writing is so fundamentally human because he focuses on tragedies and comedies, which, in my opinion, are like the biggest expressions of human emotion.
Yeah, and his like ability to just capture so many different characters. Like
Oh my goodness.
there's a lot of characters in Macbeth, and the characters in Macbeth are different from all of the characters in Hamlet and all of the
Yes.
characters in Romeo and Juliet.
A lot of good personality diversity, and the way they're setting and the people around them shape them as people. It's a nature versus nurture thing as well. It's like, I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah, and the fact that he's able to capture women, like,
Ooh, that's something.
yeah.
Are we in the spoiler section now?
Yeah, we'll slowly get to the spoiler section, but
I have a lot to say on that.
yeah, let's analyze the themes at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, his ability to just, I mean, I'm not a woman, but how do you think he captures women?
I mean, it varies play to play, my opinion on his opinion on women,
Yeah.
based on how he writes them. But in Macbeth especially, there's a lot to be said about gender regarding both men and women and everyone in between, frankly. And specifically, not even like the specific genders, but more the expression of them.
And like toxic masculinity. And
Just how femininity is displayed and how the character views it more than just the audience, which is really interesting.
yeah, I think that's all we have to say spoiler free. So let's get into the spoiler section. Let's first go beat by beat, and we can relay for everyone that hasn't listened or watched Macbeth, which we highly recommend. And yeah, let's go. So the story starts off, 3 witches first who plan to meet Macbeth after the battle. In the production we saw, the witches had a really peculiar look to them. They were...
Ooh, one of them. This was like, seeing this from afar, we were in the balcony. And even from that distance, you can pick out the details in their clothes, which I thought was really interesting. One of them, I really liked what they did with their cloak. It had like bloody handprints all over it.
Depending on which version you see, it might be different. But the witches themselves like aren't exactly painted out to be the classic like old hag. And they even get offended when they're called hags.
It's a bit in the story, actually. That's later in the story, but he marches into their place and he calls them hags and tells them to retell him what they say at the start.
Yeah.
And all of them drop what they're doing at once and give him the most deadpan stare ever, and it's hilarious.
They had long cloaks, and it was a really interesting way to portray them. And I watched the certain production that we watched of Macbeth twice, and I heard a lot of people say that the witches were their favorite part. And it just, it's definitely the most horror leaning part of it, where it's the witches and it's all eerie.
It starts the cliches that you then see over and over again, especially in cinema. Specifically in Hocus Pocus.
yeah, Hocus Pocus directly borrows from it. But yeah, they do a good job of like painting the picture of what this world is, and I like how the witches are never they're questioned, but they're never like,
they're never proven wrong, and because they are never proven wrong, like, there is an almost unspoken power to them in their words. And while they are kind of sneered at and whatnot, it is very much agreed upon within the world that they do have a power beyond man, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And then, so after we get the introduction of the witches, then it goes to King Duncan, and he hears the report of Macbeth winning, and
Macbeth and Banquo.
and Banquo winning.
And Banquo.
And he awards Macbeth the title of Thane of Cawdor.
Shortly after meeting with the witches, that's the important part.
Yeah, where the witches say that
He's going to be Thane of
gonna be-
Cawdor and then going to be king.
Yep.
And they tell Banquo that his sons will be kings, but not him.
Yep. So the witches greet Macbeth, and after the King Duncan reports of these victories, and that's where the witches are able to tell them.
They intercept them before they return back to the king. Is what it is.
Yeah.
They're coming back from the battlefield. They're still making their way to where everyone is. They're intercepted by the witches. The witches tell them their futures, and then they kind of scoff and they kind of laugh and they jostle each other, and it's very clear that there is a strong friendship between Macbeth and Banquo, which is very important for the future.
In the production we watched particularly, it stressed the friendship of Banquo and Macbeth.
I would say almost brothership.
Yeah, and they're both generals. It's clear the love that they have for each other and the camaraderie they have. After King Duncan is introduced, in our version, he was wearing this awesome cape.
Oh my goodness, the cape, I want to draw these things and put it on screen.
Yeah, it was very much like an admiral from the new Star Wars.
A half-shoulder cape that ends just about here and is in a slant. And I feel like it was gold on one side.
Yeah, it was.
And black on
it was
the other.
black and gold and just beautiful.
The color palettes, especially in this, all of the people in power wore black, gold, and red.
And they were all wearing like military berets almost.
Yes, berets, and they had specific like cut vests where the shoulders jutted out, but it was a vest. Oh, the silhouettes were so good.
Yeah, and they had like
everything exuded power.
Yeah, armed shoulder pads. It was all just like super good at painting a picture of, you know, this is not people to be this is people to fear.
Yes, and especially, and I would say this is just a big like kudos to the actors. Every single one of them, when they spoke, they took your attention like that. They had such strong voices, and it was every single character, even those that, like, I'll be honest, I read Macbeth for the first time. That wasn't just like a summary. The day that we went to see the show, just like a couple hours before the show, I sat down, I read the whole thing. And I cannot recall all of the characters' names because there is a lot.
Yeah.
But every time they came on stage, you remembered who they were by their faces, their voices, and how they held themselves.
Yeah, and all the characters were able to have a lot of diction, whether they were talking fast or really spitting and using the consonants to drive the ideas. So yeah, we have the witches being introduced, and then King Duncan granting Macbeth Thane of Cawdor. And then we have the witches greeting Macbeth and Banquo together, and their interaction, telling that they'll, Banquo, his sons will be king someday.
Macbeth will be king.
And Macbeth will be king. And Thane of Cawdor also
comes into play shortly after they meet the witches. That is when they're given the titles.
Yeah, and so Macbeth's like, no way, I'm not going to be king of Cawdor. And he says a wonderful line about having borrowed robes. Like
too,
why?
Yes. Oh my goodness, the borrowed robes thing.
Yeah.
How the titles don't feel like they belong to them because they never did before. And so they have to grow into their titles and their new position in order for anything to feel right and readjust to like the power that comes with it. I think that was a really brilliant line just within the play itself. And like what it tells you about the characters. They start humble. They really do. Because they don't believe they're going to be Thane and king, until
Yeah.
it's proven to them. And then they start to dream of bigger things. Macbeth in particular thinks on Duncan's demise as soon as he's granted Thane of Cawdor.
Yeah, it's interesting how quickly the power was able to
Leech into his brain.
And totally just corrupt his thoughts.
Yes, and he starts off expressing discomfort by the fact that he thought so quickly about the king's death and taking the reign. And Macbeth really does start as a person who doesn't need more than what he has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's totally a cautionary tale of what power can do to someone and what ambition can do to someone too, and
what the promise can do to someone.
Yeah, and just needing to be careful about how you use your ambition, which I personally find really interesting, and it really resonated with me because I'm an ambitious person.
Very ambitious person.
But yeah, I think this serves as a really good cautionary tale to understand how not to go about ambition.
And moving into, what do you have written next for?
Yeah, so...
Because I'm going to talk about Lady Macbeth.
So next after the witches tell Macbeth and Banquo, and then they are informed that they are... that they won the battle, and Macbeth is now Thane of Cawdor. Duncan names his son Malcolm as heir to the king.
This, in the play we watched, was a really interesting scene because as soon as he starts talking about how he's going to name the heir and how they deserve this title, you see Macbeth step forward.
Yeah,
just one step, and then Malcolm is named, and Macbeth pauses, and he goes back to his initial position, and he looks confused, and Malcolm and Duncan hug, and then everyone else hugs, and they congratulate each other, and everyone else leaves, and Macbeth runs into the center of the stage, and
he is so mad.
He's livid. He's livid about it. And he screams to the audience, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so interesting that he had such disbelief about being Thane of Cawdor.
And then he takes so quickly.
And then he takes so quickly to the idea. And it's also funny, of course the king is gonna name his son. That's not a new thing.
Of which he has 2 sons.
Yeah.
Which is secession lines. But this is what was expected. He was thrown off about being Thane of Cawdor because the man still existed, was also the other huge thing. This wasn't a title that was meant to just be stripped away and given to someone else. It was a title that was meant to live on with someone until they die and then pass on to the next person in their line. So it puts into his head the idea of taking titles through violence.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting in the production we saw, Macbeth was really young, and I know you originally read the character as young.
I read him as young.
I didn't, and the character we saw, he was presenting
20-something.
Yeah, 23, 24, yeah. And I thought that was such an interesting idea because yes, he doesn't have his brain developed fully. He's going to
be reckless, and he's going to take to the next big victory.
Yeah, and he's going to be naive and think of course things come to him after being named Thane of Cawdor.
Yeah.
He's of course going to be king, and it's interesting just how quickly his brain moves.
And also, contrasting is Banquo actually seemed to be older, later 20s. He did already have a son at that point in the story, and that is expressed.
Yeah, he was probably late 30s or
I would say
mid-30s.
Early to mid-30s.
Yeah, because he had an 11-year-old son. So,
yeah. And I'm going straight to Lady Macbeth unless you want to stop me.
Yeah, so Macbeth is enraged by this.
But he's still trying to relish in what he already got, which was more than what he had.
He's trying to
be grateful.
He's trying to be grateful, not well. And then he writes to Lady Macbeth,
And the next scene we see is Lady Macbeth receiving this letter. And she reads aloud what has been promised to him and what he has received. And the ambition to take the crown actually starts with well, it doesn't start, but lives with Lady Macbeth, where it died already inside of Lord Macbeth. And with her, this is where I get about like Shakespeare and writing women, and like the certain characters where I feel like he understands women, the ones where I'm like, I'm not sure that you do. Lady Macbeth is really interesting because she reads this letter and she goes, okay, so we have to kill the king, essentially. That's her first thought. And she declares to the world, she asks the evil spirits to come on to her and unsex her.
Unsex me here, is what she says.
And take from her her soft femininity and anything that would make her remorseful. Turn her into a cold-hearted killer who will not regret killing. Which is really interesting because that means that Lady Macbeth sees femininity as a weakness, or at least emotionally, she thinks that is the thing that is going to stop her, that she's going to regret killing too much. And this is really interesting because when Lord Macbeth comes home, they delight in each other, they hug, they kiss a lot. and then she's like, okay, so we have to kill Duncan. And he's like, whoa. He's already thought it. We know he's already thought it. We know it's passed through his head. We know he's like already wants that power. But in the time that he's spent from the battlefield to coming home, he's satisfied himself with Dane of Cawdor. And when he returns to his wife and she speaks onto him like the death that must come for them to take this power and have like control, he's put off by it. And there's a line where he tells her that she should only mother sons because her disposition is not of that which should raise another woman. Which again comes from unsexing herself and deciding that she must be strong and cold and fierce in order to be like have this power to kill someone.
Yeah, and it's important how different their approaches are. He starts off, and although he does think about killing the king, he is reserved. He is kind of tender at heart.
He regrets thinking that thought in the first place.
He regrets it, where she starts off and she's ready to commit these atrocities.
But she expects that she will be remorseful, which is another interesting thing, that like from the start we know she can be guilty and she can't, like this sort of thing she fears will be her undoing, which...
Yep. So after they're able to see each other again and enjoy each other's company, and then they get into a fight about
whether or not to kill the king.
Whether or not to kill the king.
And she tells him, leave it to me. We'll host him. You just have to distract him, essentially. And I will take it upon myself to prepare the things, and then we will kill him. And after she says that, he kind of just doesn't fight her anymore.
Yeah,
Which means it's like that ambition and that greed is still eating at him from the inside, whether or not he wants it to.
Yeah, gender is a very big idea in this.
Oh my God, I have so much to say.
And as we go on, we'll be able to understand Shakespeare's want with what he's telling about gender. But this is also a pivotal moment where the man is very submissive and the woman is just full-on dominant and ready.
Which already subverts expectations at that time.
Yeah, and even now,
today,
like we're still in a traditional society.
We go through, especially like in society, and it depends on which culture you hail from, and like the certain expectations within your own family, I think, is where the core of it is. Family, religion, and culture all tying together with how people see themselves, their identity, how it's presented to them, and then how they make it their own. It goes back and forth a lot throughout the ages, but...
Yeah, and so they want to host the king, and so they do.
And so they host the king, and he's so happy to be there.
King Duncan just wants to see Newcastle.
He comes in smiling, he hugs his hostess, he is clapping people. He's such a jolly king, which is, I will say, I did not read him as like, as merry and like rosy cheeked and just joyous as he was performed.
Yeah.
Like, I read him as like happy to be invited somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
it was interesting because the performer was able to give off such a dominance and such just command, but he was also just happy and
so merry.
Yeah, he seemed like the perfect king in a sense.
And that's like obviously where Macbeth like feels guilty about wanting to kill him because he is portrayed as such a good man, and he's like so giving to the people who help him out, and it's
and it's why it's a tragedy.
And so he enters the castle, and Lady Macbeth greets him, and he asks where the host is, and she says he'll be here shortly. He is having a he's talking to himself again over whether or not he really should kill the king. And he ultimately needs Lady Macbeth to come and urge him
finally convince him to kill the king.
After she gets everyone drunk. He is gone for almost all of the night.
Yeah, he hardly is there. He hardly wants to be there. He can't stomach it. He feels so guilty already. But she finally convinces him to kill the king. And once he is finally convinced, then he starts to hallucinate. He hallucinates a dagger leading him towards Duncan's chamber, and he's already just breaking down at the thought of killing another person.
Which is interesting because we know he has killed another person.
He's a military general.
Killing his friend is what it comes down to. Killing someone he does love and revere. Yeah, and it's interesting how much he loves his people. He loves Banquo. He loves the king. He can see like a respectable person. But yeah, it breaks him down. And numerous times in the same night, he fails. Like, he goes in the chamber, he kills the king, he comes out, he's holding the servants' knives.
Yeah,
he takes them with him after Lady Macbeth set them out so that they can frame it so it looks like the servants killed the king.
Yeah, give the servants the daggers.
Yes.
And paint them in blood.
But he comes out, his hands are red, he's holding completely clean knives. And he comes to Lady Macbeth and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you did it?" And he's like, "Yes, I did it." And they have a whole discussion again, and he tells her that he hears this voice telling them he will never sleep soundly again, that sleep is for the innocent, and he is no longer innocent. And he crumples to his knees as he's telling her this, and she's starting to stress because he's holding completely clean knives, his hands are bloody, and they start to hear knocking at the door. So she takes the knives from him, she runs into the bedchamber, she stabs the servants with the knives, and leaves them beside the bodies. And she returns and she says, "My hands are now of your color, but my heart is not as white as yours."
Yeah.
And she has to convince him to come to bed and to wash his hands. All he has to do is wash his hands, and this sin will be forgiven. No one will know that he was the one who killed the king.
And I love the quote that she says. She says, "A little water clears us of this deed."
Yes.
And she's so ready to just like wash the hands and then just play the innocent victims.
Go to bed and wake up in the morning.
But he is shaking and he can't.
He's on the floor.
He can't will himself to walk and clear himself. And he ultimately takes a lot of time.
She gives him so much time, and then she eventually just gives up on him and goes to wash her own hands and begs him to come to his senses soon.
Yeah, and insulting him.
And she leaves him there. And they return to their bedchambers. There's a knocking at the door, and in this play, and I cannot recall if Satan actually appeared as much on the pages before, because I don't remember his name until Act 4.
Yes.
But in this play, Satan was added from the very beginning, which is akin to something we've done with Romeo and Juliet, and I think we will probably continue to see with other Shakespeare plays, where if a character is named and mentioned and they're obviously given so much trust, but they just seem to appear for one scene, they're then added in earlier scenes. And whether or not, like, their names are not said specifically, but they are added to just, like, the bodies that are being commanded.
Yeah.
So that we see them as, like, a character that
you see more of a progression from
trust.
them. And Satan, spelt with EY
Yes.
and not
the
Hail
devil.
Santa. It's Satan. In the show we watched, he was able to add such a funny energy, and it's in every Shakespeare thing there is a clown, and he just played the clown so well. Adding many sound effects like boing and wah 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 when describing his dick.
Yes. So our Satan rushes to the door to bring in Lord Macduff.
Yes. And they're all excited to see the king, and they're ready, and they go and see that the king is dead, and there's...
And it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, and so the king is dead, the servants are unconscious in blood.
And dead as well, actually.
Macduff sees them alive first, and then he says, oh, what
they were
horrors are
alive.
these? And then Macbeth goes and runs in and then kills the servants. And that act, he did it as like, oh, you can't just be sad, you also are furious and kill. So he kills the guards.
Okay, this is interesting. So I misinterpreted the story then.
So Macbeth killed the servants after Macduff sees them, and this immediately sparks suspicion for Banquo. Banquo is also there.
Yes.
And
And Banquo doesn't want to suspect anything with Macbeth.
Banquo doesn't want to because he is his friend, but he's like...
The king died in Macbeth's home, and then Macbeth kills the servants, which were the only witnesses to whatever had transpired in that room prior to the guests arriving.
Yeah, and then Duncan's children leave. One goes to Ireland, one goes to England.
As soon as they're informed their king's dead.
Because they don't want to be next on the hit list.
And, of course, that puts suspicion on them.
Yes.
Because they would have been next in succession. And because they leave and everyone decides Macbeth is worthy enough to be king, Macbeth becomes king.
And Banquo, I think, sees through it a little bit.
Oh, he does. It's definitely implied in the little monologue he gives the other men that it's so, like, it's such a good coincidence that Macbeth happened to be there and be able to take on this burden or whatever.
And because Banquo suspects Macbeth, and Macbeth in turn knows that Banquo suspects him, he hires assassins to kill Banquo and then his son Fleance.
And the purpose for killing the son laid more in the fact that Fleance and any of Banquo's other children that may come to be were predicted to be the next kings. Macbeth ponders over this with his wife, and he says, well, the witches said I'm to be king, but they said nothing about my children, yet Banquo's children get to be king. So I hold this crown, and yet I'm going to be killed, and they're going to succeed me next. What was the point of killing Duncan in the first place if my children are not the next kings?
Yeah, so he hires assassins, and they go and they
Kill Banquo.
kill Banquo.
But not his son.
Yeah, his son was able to escape the assassins, and the interesting thing about our production is that Satan was also in this...
The assassin group.
Yeah, he was in the
He was
assassin
entrusted
group.
to try and go kill Banquo. And this is interesting because that gives a face for Fleance. How am I pronouncing that?
Fleance?
Fleance, sorry. For Fleance to recognize, because in theory, Banquo and Macbeth are good friends, and Satan is one of Macbeth's most trusted servants. So sending him out there to go kill Banquo and Fleance escaping, he has that face fresh in his mind. And Fleance is actually the one who Satan personally tackles in this play. Like, so there's like contact.
Yeah, and I don't think that idea is ever developed, partially because he's probably too scared.
And the script doesn't say outright in any line, and Shakespeare is written in how they talk. Has a lot less stage directions and thoughts, and more just what they say.
Yeah, because Shakespeare directed the play, so he didn't have to write a lot of stage directions because he knew. But yeah, it's probably assumed that Fleance was too scared to say anything. But yeah, it's an interesting idea that we never really see resolved. But the murderers kill Banquo and Fleance escapes, and then Macbeth, who is the king, now after Duncan dies and his children run off, they have a feast.
They have a feast. And in this feast, he sees Banquo's ghost. He starts off the feast by not sitting down. He's rambling anyway. And then he sees the ghost after his guests invite him to sit. And he doesn't realize it's a ghost at first until they say, well, sit in this empty chair. And he goes, what empty chair? And they say, that one right there. And the man turns around. He sees the man only, no one else does. And it's Banquo.
Yeah.
And in this production, all he does is point.
Yeah, he just goes, and it's really, he doesn't even, he does it, he just points. And it's so funny because there's like a classic horror movie, like Strings, when he just like turns around, and it's a humorous moment. I'm sure for other people that are less horror experienced, they would probably find it scary, but I don't know. For us, we couldn't help laughing.
It's very comedic. And in this interest, this is what I have to say again about Shakespeare and modernization, and the fact that it really does need to be performed in front of you, because the language is like, it's Shakespearean. He made it up. A lot of the stuff he says is made to fit within iambic pentameter. So even at the times that these were originally performed, it didn't completely make sense by ear to them either, which is why it's so integral that it's performed in such a natural way. Yeah, in the production we saw, they didn't say everything like classic, wherefore art thou Romeo, like... They spoke like the way we are speaking now, and they were able to whisper and take their time. And speak to the audience and to themselves and to the person beside them, and how they interpret the emotion, how it affects them, and where it drives their next move is so important. And especially for Macbeth. He has so many breakdowns in this show, and it's amazing the many different ways he was able to portray it and still make it so clear exactly what was going through his mind. Yeah, and so it's the feast. He sees Banquo and he just goes full on panic mode. He's hysterical. And he's unable to do anything. He's just like breaking down in fear and yelling. He's shouting at Banquo. No one else sees him. No one knows what he's raving about. No one suspects him outside of Banquo and perhaps Macduff of murdering the other people or sending assassins after them. And he's shouting bloody murder and that he didn't kill him and this isn't his fault. And then Lady Macbeth has to come in and she tells the guests, he's been prone to these attacks since he was a child. Yeah. No one sees it because it's so private. You're just gonna have to ignore him, and if you ask him any questions, that will only make him angrier. Yeah, it was a very funny moment of him just rambling nonsense and everyone looking around concerned, and she's like, no, it's fine. That's just him. Just keep talking. And she yells at his face. She says, like, are you not a man? Yeah. And that's another important gender thing. Oh my goodness. Masculinity with Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, and Macduff. Yes, and we'll talk about the Macduff thing. But essentially, if you are a man, you will face death
and you will not be deterred by it. You will not be remorseful of the people you have killed. You will remain strong in the face of danger.
And you'll be able to murder. And
You won't break down about it.
yeah, which is
Numerous times, before and after every murder, he is broken down.
yeah, which makes what happens to
Macbeth is a fragile
Lady Macbeth
character.
interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, so the feast concludes. He finally breaks out of his hysteria, but all the guests are too scared to sit down. So now it's the witch Hecate scene, which
Was cut from the one
was
we saw.
cut from the one we saw.
That disappointed me because I like Greek mythology, and Hecate is like the goddess of magic and witchcraft and pathways and just all of these things. And so when I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, Hecate's here. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But the play can be performed without her.
Yeah, basically all she does is yells at the witches for acting without her. And the funny thing is that I read it and I was like, this could be cut out. And
So
then
you were happy about it.
was cut out. And then I first watched it with my class, and
Yes.
my teacher was
Your literature class.
enraged at
I'm so mad.
but yeah, so I personally think that Hecate, it don't really need it,
Yeah,
but
she's not necessary, but I appreciate her. And this is something that, again, in Shakespeare in general, there are other characters that you're like, this
person doesn't need to be in the scene. Or
conversely, this person should be in the scene. Hence, Satan being added to so many things.
yeah. And after that, then one of the generals, Lennox,
that's when he's
he
important.
and Ross act together in the production we saw as kind of two generals that just like are getting to the bottom of this suspicion.
They're getting into very particular polarized like different sides of the story.
Yeah.
They are interacting with Macduff
And Malcolm, who's way in England, and also Macbeth. They're trying to piece together what happened to Duncan's demise and the shift in power and why so many people are starting to die.
Yeah, so Lennox and Ross discuss their suspicions of Macbeth, and they say that Macduff has gone to England to seek help from Malcolm, who Duncan's son, and to try to, take back control and kill Macbeth. And then next, the witches, after Macbeth wants to confirm his doubts and make sure that he's still safe and in the clear, he asks the witches what's up and wants to make sure he's safe. And so they show him 3 apparitions. And the main idea is that he will not be harmed by any man born
of a woman.
Born of a woman.
And he has nothing to fear until Burnham Wood comes to, what's it called? Doesn't it?
Burnham Wood moves, basically.
Yes, until a forest comes to his palace.
Yes. So he's like, every man is every
Born of a woman
every
and a forest
person
can't
is
move.
yeah. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to being fine. I'm chilling.
And previously, this is important, he was considering killing Macduff because
He hears that Macduff is going to Malcolm.
who, again, is King Duncan's eldest son, and the rightful heir, frankly. But he does still respond to this news by sending assassins after Macduff's wife and children.
Yeah, he wants to kill Macduff and have Macduff's castle sieged. And but Macduff's not there
Yes.
because he's helping
He's going to Malcolm.
going to Malcolm and taking back the throne. And this is where we get one of the saddest scenes, if not the saddest, where
Performed so well.
yeah, it's Lady Macduff with her son, and they are joking, and she says that
Lord Macduff. They just got the news from Ross that Lord Macduff has fled to England.
Yeah, and so Lady Macduff says that her husband is dead and the boy's father is dead, and he's like, no, he's not. If he was, then you would be crying, and
or else he wasn't a very good husband.
Yeah, and then she said, like, I could get 100 more at a market.
I could buy anyone.
Yeah, and it's a really heartfelt moment before being stopped by the assassins
and Satan.
Who come in and kill them.
And in the blocking for this, they prolonged the scene by having the son and the mother constantly try to fight their attackers and reach out for each other.
Yeah.
They're just trying to, like, at the very least, die together.
Yeah, it's so sad, and then they just brutally snap her neck, and thankfully,
lift them off stage.
Thankfully,
they
don't make us watch this innocent, cute boy get murdered.
And
but
he is in the show we watched. He was the only character played by an actual child.
Yeah,
as well.
and then he yells after, and he's like, "Mommy, no!"
Oh God!
And it was really sad.
Definitely, if you didn't hate Macbeth before that point, you hated him from then on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then we go and see Malcolm and Macduff's side, and they are testing each other to see if they have the right opinions on killing Macbeth.
Yes.
So after they test each other and realize that Macbeth should be killed and they will work together, and Ross comes and tells that Macduff's family has been slaughtered, and he is so distraught, and he cries out, like, all my pretty ones, like all my pretty chickens, and he calls them chickens, and it's so innocent and cute and sad. And rest in peace, the Macduffs.
And in this moment, Malcolm tells him to take the news like a man, and Macduff replies by saying he's responding as a man would.
Yeah, he's like, I can take revenge, but I can still act like a man.
Upset, emotional.
And it's okay to be emotional as a man. And I'm like,
it's okay to care about the death of your family and be sad about it. And not just respond with just anger and revenge, but to, like, really
weep
feel
for them.
Everything.
And he says something about his face is acting like a woman, but that does not make him less of a man. And I just thought that's so important. I don't know, in our society still, with our Andrew Tates and just our crazy toxic masculinity, our performative males, it's such an important message, and it's so crazy that it was a thing being talked about 400 years ago, and it still has not changed. And then we get into Act 5, and we now see Lady Macbeth, and she is gone mad.
She is sleepwalking, and in her sleepwalking, a servant has called in a doctor to come check on her. But Lady Macbeth, in her sleep, she comes to the room that she had been in when they had discussed having just after killing Duncan way back in Act 1. And we see her crying and pacing and talking about murder, and she ends up on the floor and she's scrubbing furiously at her hands, trying to get the blood off of her hands. And then once she is satisfied that her hands are clean, she goes straight to bed and sleeps soundly for the rest of the night.
And while doing that, she says one of the most famous lines from the show. She says, "Out, damned spot. Out, I say." And she's scrubbing, and she's unable to cleanse her sleepwalking hands of blood. And yeah, it's clear that she's finally switched into, she's unable to bear the sadness and the grief and the regrets.
And it is not because she is a woman, but rather because she is who she is. She knew from the start that she was a remorseful person, and that she can put on a face, but she can't actually escape that sort of guilt. And it haunts her. It haunts her just as much as it haunts Macbeth. And any time in this play he has expressed to her that it's crushing him, that he can't do it, she pushes him onward. And then we see this nice contrast where she is also crumbling under that very same weight. And The doctor, it's important in the scene because she says all these things out loud, but she's asleep, so she's not aware that she's confessing to her sins. The doctor and the servant look at each other and they say, oh my God, she just basically said she killed the king. Which is, it was treason, but now what do you do with this information that the people who are now in power have been entrusted with this power, killed your previous ruler, and they decide that they really can't say anything about it.
Yeah, Shakespeare has a lot of these like little think pieces that aren't exactly explored, but they don't really need to be, and it's interesting to just think of all these like puzzles that he just like drops and then moving on.
The complexity of society and how to preserve yourself is the main thing, especially in this play.
Yeah, and then we go back and we see more nobles who come and fight with Malcolm in England and are getting ready for a battle. And then Satan finally warns Macbeth that he sees men approaching. He sees men approaching the castle. They say that there's like 10,000 men. And then they hear a scream.
And Macbeth goes, what was that? And Satan says, sounds like a woman.
yeah. He's like, that was a scream of a woman. And then he goes,
he says, go check on it. He goes and checks on it. He returns with, Lady Macbeth has killed herself.
Yeah.
And Lord Macbeth takes this information and he pauses and he just kind of goes, oh, she wasn't supposed to do that.
He says something about like wishing it was like a different day, but since it's today, there's no time to.
The next day and the next day will come along and.
Yeah, and it's totally goes against what he would have reacted with at the start.
At the very beginning, and he actually acknowledges this as well. He had either a monologue just before or just after, where he talks about how killing people the way he has used to crush him, and now the very thought of it barely phases him. And he is what his wife wishes that he was in the very beginning, and now she is what she wishes she was not. Which again, the contrast, so beautiful.
Yeah, and just like this again goes into making them young. Like it's so
They're
just
foolish.
touching.
They're so foolish.
And also, just making them love each other. Like
So
starting
deeply.
out with them like spinning each other
They're
and making
passionate.
out, and now it's just like this all went to shit. And it's all because of ambition.
But he still believes to this point that he cannot be killed.
Yeah, and so he gets on his armor. When that happens, then Malcolm orders his soldiers to cut down branches from Burnham Wood and use them as camouflage, which makes Satan announce to Macbeth that the Burnham Wood is moving.
And then Macbeth is like, oh shit.
Yeah, now he's finally a bit disillusioned and is scared.
Yes, and in the production that we saw, I thought this was interesting. Macbeth only has himself and Satan in this scene. And I think maybe it's also important that he only ever hires assassins. He doesn't send his own soldiers. He doesn't have people who love him and revere him or respect him. And in the scene, he runs into Burnham Wood, or, the forces that are coming on to him. And we see multiple people come from the other side to attack Macbeth, but we see no one come to support Macbeth in his fight against that.
Yeah, it's only him and Satan. Macbeth encounters solely Seward.
Who I forgot existed.
Yeah, and Seward just gets killed.
Yeah, he's
immediately.
like, he wonders which soldier he is to fight, and Macbeth says, I'm Macbeth, and he goes, that's worse than the devil!
Yeah. Macbeth has a great line after asking his name. He's like, thou'st be afraid to hear it.
Yeah.
And
So cocky.
yeah,
And
yeah.
true, but
And
cocky.
true. But yeah, and then he kills Seward, and then he finally finds Macduff.
Yes.
And Macduff sees him first, and he has a great line of, he's like, "Turn, hellhounds!"
Yes, and the way they stage it, especially, it was diagonal. I love anytime someone uses a stage and makes it go diagonal across instead of in a straight line one way or another, because it adds so much depth to the scene that you don't get otherwise. And the choreography for it was amazing. The blocking was amazing. Macbeth has this really cool slide on his foot that I'm surprised he would manage to do in shoes.
Yeah, he does a crazy, like,
low to the ground, like lunge slide, and turn around to swipe up a knife.
And they're fighting, and Macbeth is able to cut Macduff on the leg, and he's winning, and then
he's on top of Macduff, and he is, again, cocky, foolish, young, so overconfident that he tells Macduff, "You had no chance of winning because I cannot die to any man born of a woman."
And he has this charm, and Macduff says that this charm does not work against Mr. Macduff because he was untimely ripped from his mother's womb. He was a C-section. And I guess in the world of Shakespeare,
that means you're not born.
That means you're not born of a woman. So, yeah, because Macduff is a C-section baby, then both of the charms that have been saving Macbeth are now gone. And
this is a moment that if Macbeth had simply just either cut Macduff's throat before, said, "I can't die," killed him, or heard what he responded with, and still tried to kill him immediately anyway, it would have fared better. But he takes a moment, he hesitates, he's startled, he's scared, and because he pulls back, that's where Macduff overpowers him.
Yeah, and then they go back to fighting, but Macduff finally wins. And this is the biggest difference between the production we saw and
the play
the
itself.
play. So in the play, he gets overpowered by Macduff and then is decapitated.
It's explicitly stated that he is beheaded.
And Macduff takes his head and goes to show all of his
Here is your king.
soldiers and gloat, and they put his head on a pike. But in this, which is so cool,
good.
he gets his neck slit, but then he's dead. He's laying there.
They say all their things to each other. They proclaim everything that they say for the rest of the story.
And
then
Malcolm becomes king, and Macduff, importantly, doesn't let his ambition and killing the king
make him want to
become king. He just wanted vengeance. He wanted justice. So Malcolm is king, the son of Duncan. And then they bring out the super cool executioner-looking person.
So cool.
And there's 2 shackles. And they put the first shackle on the first leg and the second shackle on the second leg. And then there's this hook that comes from the ceiling. They attach it, and
he hangs upside down
Macbeth's
by his
dead
feet.
body gets slowly pulled up and spins around, and he's just dead. He's motionless. His hands are letting gravity take them, and it's just such an impactful moment.
Good. I thought that it reminded me at least a bit of Christ, right? And dying for our sins. But in this case, he was upside down. He wasn't nailed to anything. But because of the way he was hanging with his arms out and below him, I thought it was maybe like an anti-Christ sort of thing, or facing hell for his sins. Which I thought was really interesting. Not being respected enough to hold his head above the people.
Yeah, neither of us are religious, so maybe we got that wrong.
Yeah.
But and to me, it reminded me of a lot of dictators, especially from World War II. Most notably Benito Mussolini of Italy, who after he died, his body was hung up for everyone to see until it rotted and he was just a skeleton. And yeah, so that concludes Macbeth. Malcolm is king, and the world is restored back to its
Rightful track.
rightful track. It's all balanced again.
What were your takeaways?
My takeaways was that this
What?
was...
Sorry. Jackson, what were your takeaways?
My takeaways were, it was just an incredible story. It completely stood the test of time, and it delved into ambition in a really unique way, while also leading way to a lot of famous tropes, and in completely defining witches. And yeah, if you have the opportunity to see Shakespeare performed professionally, definitely do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's Macbeth, because it sells like crazy.
It's good.
Madelyn, what were your final takeaways?
My takeaways were just like you. If you're gonna consume Shakespeare, you should absolutely watch it live in person on a stage, preferably with professional actors or people who, you know, really do understand Shakespeare.
Yeah, you can tell when an actor knows what they're saying.
Especially in how, like, the emotion in their voice.
Yeah, and a good actor can help you understand the words themselves too.
Which is really important. And, oh goodness, what else? Yeah, I mean, watch Shakespeare. That's the main thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's good. It's really
good.
good. It's really good storytelling. It's really good characters.
hot take, Macbeth is good.
But not as good as some of his other work.
Yeah, and maybe we'll talk about that more later. We'll see. So out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
4.
Interesting.
4 because, I mean, unless you let me get into like really minute decimals. Again, I think other Shakespeare works are better than Macbeth. But it's really good with human emotion, portrayal of characters and how they perceive themselves and their identity and how it relates to the people around them. But especially mental breakdowns and what being a bad person can do to you and how badly it affects you.
Yeah. And I would rate this 5 stars, actually. I think it's near perfect. I think with some healthy trimming, you get the perfect story. And I just think it really does a good job of showing ambition. And I just think it also in a way inspired a lot of horror as we see now. I would be surprised if there are directors out there that haven't been inspired in some way or another by Shakespeare.
It's brilliant foreshadowing, for sure. And again, self-fulfilling prophecies. I'd said that before. I would say the only reason I'm not rating it higher is because sorry for the king that this was commissioned for or by, but I like stories that get into the nitty-gritty details. I like seeing like every single decision and why they're made. And so I love all the monologues because I'm like, oh, that's where your head is at. And I wish it was a little longer. Which is crazy because it is already 2 hours.
Yeah, and I don't. So that's what makes our ratings different, I guess.
Yes.
And Madelyn, any last words?
Don't say its name in a theater.
Yeah, it's cursed, and actually there's a common story is that for the first time before Macbeth opens, the actor who played Lady Macbeth died suddenly, so that for the whole opening of Macbeth, Shakespeare actually had to go on for him and play the role instead. And then there's other weird tragedies and weird incidents. But yeah, I think
Don't curse your theater.
don't curse your theater, but go to one and support art.
Support the local arts, support the theater, support film, support everything, honestly.
Yeah.
Keep creativity alive and keep stories alive.
And keep creating. And without further ado, that was the Bloody Wankers.
Jerk it off.